Managing Director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner, joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, the great Tony D joining us, talking about all kinds of different things. Always love, Tony's got a different perspective about so much, so love to get those views here early on these Tuesday mornings. Tony, good morning. I hope all is well.
It is, and good morning, everybody. I'm proud to be among you guys.
All right, so we kind of went down a road last week, and you're going to have us continue to follow that bouncing ball of what, Pandemic-modium? Is that what?
Yeah, I would like to, you can call this Adventures in Pandemic-modium, and today I don't have one ball, I have three, and I just want to see if I can get them all to the same place. The first one, the governor has a panel. It's called Reopening Connecticut, and Kevin Rennie and the Hartford Courant had a very good article on this, and it's interesting the way he's doing it. Interesting, you can put in quotation marks. This is a group doing a public function. However, they're operating out of a nonprofit. Think away from public view, away from freedom of information. The nonprofit they're operating out of is called Advance Connecticut. It is, in some reports they say this is the same Connecticut Economic Development Council. It's a brand new organization. I have it up on my computer screen. You could look at it on GuideStar. In other words, new broom sweeps clean. The board members of this board. Now, this is not the board members of his panel. The usual suspects. You could read down the names. Indra Nui, James Smith out of Webster Bank, David Lehman, Greg Butler out of Eversource, Judy Olian, Quinnipiac, Thomas Rutledge, Charter, Jeffrey Sonnenfeld of the Yale School of Management. It's the same players in every single thing. Okay, think of that for a moment. Now you're going to come over and look to see who's actually on this board. Now, again, this is a nonprofit board. He's really under no hurry to get any of this started. Again, the longer you're out there, the more you can get your hands in some of the CARES Act money. Yesterday they were talking about, right now, stimulus number 3 is CARES. We're looking at Stimulus 5 right now, which is going to be direct aid to the cities and towns. We've already blown through 4. We haven't seen the bill or anything on that yet, but it's absolutely incredible. Some of the people who were on the boards, the ones we know about, again, he doesn't have to hurry to the others. The same Indra Nooyi, former chair of, CEO of Pepsi, I should say, not the chair, but she and Lamont go back at least 10 years, the whole Yale School of Management thing. Albert Coe of Yale. Ezekiel Emanuel's particularly interesting. Mr. Rennie had pointed this out. He is an oncologist. He's now in venture capital. The venture capital has to do with medical testing, and kind of curious. And he wrote a paper years ago where he said no one should really live past the age of 75. It's not worth it. Tries to paint himself as sort of a humorous sort. I can't quite reconcile those two. Right. But that's, one curiosity. He's also on a board, or actually in this venture capital organization. One of his partners is Ned Lamont's wife, Ann Huntress Lamont. It's all there. You could read it.
Right.
Now, the guy who was really curious to me, Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner under Trump. We think, well, good guy, drain the swamp and all that kind of stuff. But what does Scott Gottlieb do now? Now, again, all I'm saying is, can you really point the finger here and accuse these people? No, you really can't. But, it all kind of sort of boils down to the same thing. He's now involved in something called New Enterprise Associates as a partner. He's also above 2 companies in this thing. One's named Actia and the other's named Tempus Labs. He's also a board director of Pfizer. What are they all involved in right now? All of the developments around COVID-19. Now, all I'm really saying here is, okay, what if he has entirely pure motives? I mean, typically, we remember drain the swamp. Okay, stick that aside. This is a card game being played off in the corner. We can't get any, things affecting the state, things affecting business closures, things affecting how we live and what we do. This is all hidden from public view. And it's curious to me that Larry Hogan, who's the governor of Maryland, who Trump is now jumping on, he and Scott Gottlieb are very, very, very close in this whole thing. And all I'm really saying is really two things. Okay, leave the judgment to God. I'm willing to do that. I'm the guy that watches the green. But the state has a very strict conflict of interest statute, meaning that if I'm doing something for the state, I can't profit from that. You know, my judgment can't interfere where I may profit. This whole thing's completely exempt from that because it's out of the auspices of the state. And for every single legislator who sends me an email saying that, oh, it's great, we have a panel, guys, will you freaking read and see what is going on here and ask a couple of intelligent questions? I really would appreciate it. So that's my first ball.
Okay, so that's one. I just really quick. What's, as far as you can see, what is the goal of this formed commission?
To decide when to reopen the state. In other words, Josh Gabali, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is Ned Lamont's quote-unquote economic guy, my very great chamber, the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, had a webinar this past week where he was asked, when are you going to consider opening this or targeted reopenings? He said, oh, I've got to refer to the commission. That's the goal. So if you've got this kind of card game where you're sort of off in a corner and you're not really accountable to what else is going on, you know, you keep this thing going for as long as you can. The goal, to answer your very simple question, Lee, is to decide when to reopen the state.
All right. What's bouncing ball two?
Okay, bouncing ball two. You know, we do have a commissioner of public health. Nobody knew that. Her name, Renee Coleman Mitchell, this is all supposed to fall to her. You can't find a blessed thing on her. You really have to look. And this is all supposed to be her ball game. She is the commissioner. You have to, believe me, my friend Bob Swick, the economist, and I spent about 20 minutes trying to find this out. It's not public information. It is and it isn't, but they hide it very well. She makes $200,000 a year. What does she do? Tell me, please. And when you spin this around, let's go back to last week, the statistics. Again, you know, I'm the guy watching the green because this is going to cost us green when it's all over. One of your dear listeners had posted an article that I found that was incredibly interesting. Bill de Blasio last week saying that in the heat of battle, our primary focus has been on saving lives, so he just went ahead and added 4,000 people who never tested positive to his total, you know, without accountability, without anything. And I was discussing this last night with Kathy and a couple of people that are medical professionals saying, you don't know anything unless you have, number one, a test, and number two, that test has got to say that was the predominant cause of death. They're just winging numbers. Connecticut, April 20th, there was 1331 over the last time we looked at 448. And the criteria is, again, it's the same squishy criteria, what we call in the trust game a tainted transaction. And again, on their site, persons who tested positive for COVID-19 around the time of death. Okay, that doesn't say that where it was the cause of death or the predominant cause of death. That could have been somebody who was very, very ill, you know, like 5 minutes before. And bouncing ball number three, 1.3, get this, $1 billion comes on the CARES Act, on this stimulus. And of course, you know, they give him Chris Murphy pats on the back. You know, great job, Chris, for getting the money. I mean, nothing against Mr. Murphy. My dog could have done the same thing because they doled it out in accordance with population. But how the thing gets, you know, how the thing gets spent, believe me, I will send you my notes again. $134 million to help Connecticut colleges and universities respond to coronavirus. Hey guys, where were you when the lights went out when this thing happened first? $24.1 million of cities and towns. You know, Bridgeport gets like $2 million, Hartford gets like $3 million. What did they do with the last money we gave them? $5.4 million to help Connecticut prepare for and respond to coronavirus in the election cycle. There is a list of like 30 items, and the thing is, it's, you know, people think this is, you know, literally Christmas in April. Those are my three balls.
When is there another check? And that was three great looks at 3 different things, and I appreciate your due diligence and digging as deep as you did. I have a question before we run out of time. Is there another stimulus that you know of? Because I haven't seen anything.
Actually, they're talking about 4 now, which, from what traces I could see, is going to be a grab back of all sorts of little goodies and little treats, and that's supposed to be for infrastructure. The other one is going to be Stimulus 5, which is going to be cities and towns. And that, of course, is going to be need-based. So New York, me. Connecticut, me. That's what they'll be playing for.
What about another check of $1,000, $1,200 bucks?
As far as actual people's checks, I mean, I think there can be. I think it's a question of how quickly this all rolls back to work and rolls back to normal. Yes, that possibly can be. And glad you mentioned it. On the site, we've got some information about scams regarding the stimulus checks. Go there and read it, because I just don't want to see anybody not getting what they're entitled to by some real official-looking email.
All right, one more. We only got like 30 seconds. I'm getting everybody who's a small business owner is completely fooled and going crazy and pulling their hair out because they don't know what to do. Is that sort of the similar thing that you're getting as far as people trying to fill out this paperwork and get money?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they're still fighting over the funding. You will get the funding, and it will happen, but I mean, what does it matter when the seconds seem like hours? I mean, it's, again, I'd need 10 hours rather than 10 minutes to tell you my feelings about all of that, my friend.
Well, brother, great stuff today. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the work you do.
My pleasure. Everybody be well.
All right, man. Have a good one. I thank you very much. Again, Tony D joining us. Good stuff with him today, digging up a lot of different info. I hope that helps some folks out there. All right.